guys and welcome to my channel. My name's Nicole and here on We Mama I do lots of motherhood, lifestyle, cleaning and organisational videos. So if you like that kind of content I would love it if you could stick around and maybe consider subscribing. Today's video, as you can tell by the title, is going to be 5 things that I do differently with baby number 2. I am mummy to a little boy called Didier. He has just turned 2 years old and my little girl Nina is currently about to turn 5 months old. I've seen lots of these videos floating around on YouTube, so seeing those have actually made me think, what do I actually do differently with my second baby? I didn't actually really think about stuff like this before I had her. I was pregnant with her during the pandemic, and if I'm completely honest, what I was going to do differently didn't really factor in at those times, and then because we had her a little earlier than expected, those kind of thoughts just went out the window, so I didn't really give them much thought. So I thought, now that I've actually got her and I can actually see what I actually have done or do differently, so I thought I'd sit down and just tell you all about them. I am definitely more relaxed when it comes to a routine in some ways. I have to have a routine with Nina and my son Didier. My husband is a chef and he works ridiculous hours, so it is mostly me home the majority of the time. So I do kind of have to have a strict routine. When it's just me, they have to be in bed at a certain time. So that's a side of routines I'm not so relaxed with. Where I am a little more relaxed with the routine is, for example, once she's gone to bed and I've put my son to bed and they're both asleep and I actually get like an hour or two to myself in the evenings, at around 10 o'clock, half 10, she will tend to wake up for a feed. We usually put her down around half 6, 7 o'clock along with her brother. Sometimes I'll go up and feed her and leave her in bed, and other times I will bring her downstairs and into the living room and I will feed her there, and I will just let her lie on me and we'll just cuddle in for the rest of the evening. Sometimes I feel really bad because then I look back and I definitely didn't do that with Didier, with my firstborn. I was so, in a way, by the book, like, no, he needs to be, you know, he needs to be in a routine. He has fallen asleep here. I can't move him from out of his bassinet now. So I was a bit more rigid with my first, and now with Nina I know that if she just sleeps on me, it's not going to disrupt or ruin her sleep patterns. She's just having a cuddle with me and I can just put her back to bed when we go back upstairs. So I'm definitely more relaxed that way. Another thing that I do differently with Nina is I breastfeed her. I breastfed Didier straight away. We did really well from day one. I was very fortunate with that. He latched straight away. I had a good milk supply. We did really well. But I got to the point where in the middle of the night Didier was waking up and all he wanted was my nipple. He would wake up for a feed, he would fall asleep on me once he was finished, and when I put him back into the bed he just wanted the comfort of my breast again. So I would pick him back up out of the bassinet, put him back on my boob, and he would probably have about 3 or 4 sucks and he would pass out again on my nipple, and it was just a constant cycle. It was exhausting. Didier was a lot heavier as well. Even though he was a 6-pound baby, I really struggled to feed him in public for 2 reasons. One being I was always really uncomfortable physically. I couldn't ever get comfortable with my arm, him resting. It just took a lot out of me, to the point where I would just start to dread feeding him because I was so uncomfortable. And then obviously reason number 2 was feeding in public. I became very aware of every single man, which should not affect me, but it did. I got very uncomfortable. If I was sat in a coffee shop, I saw a man sit down opposite, I would just freak out. And even though I had different covers, some weren't great, I had muslins, I wasn't confident at all. So I think we ended breastfeeding, I want to say 2 weeks, but it might have been like 3 weeks to a month where we just phased it out and we went straight onto formula. With Nina, we have done really well. We have been breastfeeding for almost 5 months now. It is just a breeze. I find it a lot easier to manoeuvre around her and just open up my clothing and feed her. I feel like I'm not as achy, and I'm definitely not as uncomfortable. Maybe it's because I actually know what I'm doing this time round. I'm not 100% sure why it's a bit easier. Maybe it's because I'm not actually out in public as often as it's the pandemic. But when we have been allowed to go out, we weren't in lockdown and we weren't in tears just after she was born. So when we did go out, I had no problem just like whacking my boob out whenever I had to feed her, and like I was with Didier. I think by this point, you know, I've had a C-section, I've had a natural birth, everyone has seen everything. And if I'm out in public and they glimpse my boob, it wasn't the end of the world. I had just turned 26 when I had Didier and now I'm 28, so maybe those few years have granted me a little bit of extra wisdom. Who knows? Another thing that we have done differently with Nina is that she doesn't have her own bedroom. She does not have her own nursery. With Didier, he was obviously our firstborn and we had a nursery ready waiting for him. With our current situation, with me going back to work and not having childcare, we have not given Nina a bedroom. We very luckily live in a lovely 3-bedroom house, but the box room is usually for our family and friends. They haven't really been able to use that this much last year, obviously with the pandemic, but we just decided to keep it free for when we do get visitors. We relocated down to the Cotswolds in 2019. All our family are in Wales and up in Manchester in France, so whenever they come to stay, we like to have a guest room. But as I mentioned, with me going back to work, we don't have any childcare, so my mum is actually going to come and live with us. Now that we've gone into another lockdown, we will obviously have to work around self-isolating and her being in our bubble, so we'll have to look into that. But she will be coming to live with us. I am a key worker, so I know that I probably will have to go back to work. So we've just left that room free for the moment, and my mum will be living with us for at least a year whilst we save every penny to finally buy our own house. So that's something that is a bit different for us. Nina does not have her own space. She's got a nursery set up in our room, and I don't know what we're going to do when she starts to need another crib, because she's currently in a snooze pod. We are definitely going to have to swap that snooze pod for an actual crib at some point. That's going to be interesting. Fourth thing that is a bit different, what we didn't do with our first, is baby classes. We are just getting a bit more creative. As with the pandemic, we can't go to any baby classes. They are non-existent. They've all been shut down, and we can't do any kind of sensory classes or NTC groups because of this. So we are doing things a little bit differently. We did all of that with our firstborn. So obviously, poor Nina, bless her, we can't do that with her. So we've had to get a bit more creative and do those things ourselves. My mum very kindly bought us one of those water mats for Christmas for Nina to play on. So that has been a really great creative kind of sensory play for her. Also making a little sensory basket full of fabrics, scrunchy things. So getting creative and doing our own baby sensory classes is definitely something that we're doing different with baby number 2. And number 5, last on my list, is something that we do differently with Nina that I always tend to feel a little bit guilty about, and that is attention. It's obviously going to happen with second baby, with baby number 2, baby number 3, but something that I realise that we do differently is we don't give her all the attention all the time. Obviously, it's because it's not possible. I have a toddler to obviously look after this time around, where I didn't have that with my firstborn. But I realised that with Didier, I had no other distractions. I had nothing to take my attention away from him. So I would sit on the sofa with him and he would be sat in a baby cushion and he would just be sat on my lap, and we would sing and giggle and play with him and talk to him as a newborn, and literally all my attention would be on him. Whereas with Nina, this doesn't happen as often as it should. By the time that Didier is asleep, she is obviously getting ready for bed herself. So throughout the day, when we do that, Didier obviously realises that I'm talking to her and she's getting attention, so she gets that interrupted time when really she should be having a bit of one-to-one attention with just us, and she doesn't tend to get that as much as she should. So that is definitely something that we do differently, and it always just makes me feel a bit bad. But at the end of the day, I really can't be too hard on myself, because it will always happen when you have more more children. So there we have it. They are 5 things that I do differently with baby number 2. I'm actually kind of glad that I left this until after I had my second baby, because it has really opened my eyes up to see what we do differently. This is just as she is under 6 months. It might even change even more as she gets older. Like, different things will happen, I'm sure. But for now, these are just 5 things that we do differently. If you like this video, I would really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. It would really help support and grow my little channel. Thank you so much for being here. I would love it if you could comment down below any of your thoughts or even experiences. It would really mean a lot to me. I love replying to them. Thank you so much for even being here, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!